Welcome in Power Hour Flow and Charts. If you're new, what we do is look at any unusual whales flow, look at charts, contract requests, so on. Uh, if you've been in here before, obviously you know how it goes. If you got something you want me to take a peek at for flow wise, chart wise, so on, feel free to drop it in the chat and I will take a peek at it. We're going to start off here and take a peek at that market tide right now. I kind of like to start the videos off just taking a peek at that. Seeing a lot of ask side put premium here. Very clear bearish tide right now. Call premiums just dipping hard out of the money, and all premiums. Put volume also picking up. Tesla is your biggest contributor to the put premium as well. I need to also push one thing out here. 1 second. Okay. And now I just got Periscope, so it's going to be a new thing. I'm learning it still, but once I get it mastered, it's going to be a really nice big change here. But essentially, sitting on support right now between this 67.95 and 81.70 or 6800. Jeez, I'm reading the wrong thing. And then you got a little resistance here at 6810 and 6805, and we're just kind of chopping along there right now. So nothing super major sticking out there, but keeping an eye on that. Flow wise, let's see. I've been busy kind of dealing with the dog the last hour, so I'm just gonna kind of go back and look at some flow here, just what's sticking out. You can look at these CRC 220.47.5 calls. A lot of pretty mixed here, ask and bid side-wise. I probably would avoid this. Let's just kind of look at it anyways. I believe it doesn't overlap earnings. Let's go down here and take a peek. So IV spikes when it comes in. Spot is filling with ask. A little wider bid-ask spread there. Let's just continue to kind of follow that up. So 42.09, we got a small little drop here only on 2 contracts. Not a huge deal. Spot continues to fill at that 2, that bid-ask. It's a little goofy here, so I kind of want to follow this up and see. Maybe that's why we're seeing it kind of be that goofy bid-ask spread there. So it's technically an ascending fill here. And that IV rises and then drops here towards the end. Yeah, one of those that kind of, as I was saying, probably best to avoid something like that. How much are these again? 204. Yeah, I mean, maybe if you're going to take something like that, more of a very, very tiny, small position, but I just didn't like how that flow kind of read there. Got some long-dated 115-2027 HPE 17 puts. Will obviously overlap earnings. 17% out of the money. Massive spike in that put premium here. Let's go back 14 days. Yeah, you don't see a ton of ask side activity here. Massive spike in that put premium though. Let's take a peek. So let's see, we got a little more to go. Yeah, so a lot of bid side here too. So our first trade of the day here. So 43.15, just kind of want to take a peek at that entire feed. So we're filling with that bid. IV's decreasing here, decreases again, comes back up. That spot's continuing to fill, so we do have a little drop in that spot here. It's kind of continuing to watch that. I'm guessing these are probably short puts, but then we have a spike here in the IV. Continuing to come in at the bid. IV drops again. I would probably take a guess. Just want to see how that ask side reacts. 360, so it increases then drops. Yeah, I would make a hard bet that these are short puts here. Just with that IV kind of bouncing around. They're so far out too. 17% out of the money. I would probably lean those were short. But the 220 LYV 140 puts. Definitely earnings flow. Expires a day right after earnings. So even if it does look good, again, you have to worry about earnings and just kind of looking at it at a glance right here. That IV's dropping, and I need to pop this on too. I don't need any. Then come in, let's see. Brad, I'll answer your question here in a second. So I'll see if I can find a good example here for you. So like here, like when you see that IV decrease here, and again, just the IV it alone, I like to see it kind of increase. So like if this was opposite here, it was at 37.71 and then it bumped up to that 37.94, you're getting an increase. The IV, again, it's not a 100% tool that's going to work every single time. It's just one part of that overall flow that you're looking for. So like here, and this is kind of a mixed bag of data, I'd say here, because you see you're getting filled at 570 here at that 37.94. Well, that spot price increases up to 580 here, and that IV drops. So once you kind of get to that, I would look at this as a mixed bag of flow. I wouldn't say you get a clear signal out of it. Now, if you made me choose, if I was guessing these were buy to open or if they were selling them, I would probably say they're buying them just with that spot price increase. Again, these are earnings, so who knows what's going to happen with that. But I will see if I can find a good example in our flow. I'll show you here. So let's look at the Netflix ones here. Netflix might be a good example since we have earnings today after hours. So yeah, not a good example because your IV is technically decreasing there. Let's just go back to the beginning of it. So good example here. So it's not a massive increase in IV, but I'm still looking for that increase in IV. I'd more so be, so good example in here. Like you can see, I'm just trying to find a good spot in here. So like so let's just say this 1306.12. Let's just say this is our full trade here. I'm just gonna kind of move it up so we can see it. So starting at that 1306.12 to here, we're going to say this is our full trade. So you notice that, let's just say that IV's at 47.67 when it comes in. We'll pretend this is ask side flow because I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a good example. But the main thing when I'm looking at that IV, like, so it decreases here. Well, then my eyes always kind of come over to that size. I want to see how big that size was that caused that decrease in the IV. If it's one contract, not a huge deal. But like here, I mean, okay, we're going to go to that 1305. We're going to use this little set of data here. So like when I'm seeing it like this, that 47.76, and it's decreasing kind of that entire time, I'm a little more cautious on something like that. Just because I know it's a decrease in that entire time, even with the smaller size here too. But now let's say you're at that 47.76, and then you drop to that 47.67, and then this rolls back up to 47.76, and it was 30, 40 contracts. Then I could overlook that small little drop in that IV on the smaller size contracts. Hopefully that kind of helps. It's more just kind of looking at it over time and kind of understanding it. And there's not like a certain like, oh, the IV is decreasing by 0.30 or it's increasing by 0.30. IV is going to be different for every single name. So typically with the IV2, it's based on that stock movement. So Netflix, and this is a little further dated contract, so it's not the best example, but like earnings flow for Netflix today. Let me show you. So I'm just going to pick that top contract here. So you look at the IV here. Your IV is extremely elevated. Now that last contract we were looking at for Netflix, it was 40 or 57 or so. This is 113. That IV is just telling you there's an implied move coming in that stock. So you'll typically see IV rise around earnings. If there's like a news, or like how Apple does their little product event things, you'll typically see IV rise on those contracts. Then it's when there's an expected announcement with that name. So like the thought between the IV like increasing and decreasing when you're looking at that option flow, and I don't really have a good example today, but maybe these. I'm just trying to find an IV when I'm not really looking for like super good. So like this one, for example, this is kind of a good example. So you can see how that IV's decreasing for the most part, and then it pops up again and decreases again, decreases again, decreases again. So that spot where it popped, it was on that 34 contracts traded. Now I like to look at the contracts around it too, just to see what else is coming in. So I would read these as short calls here. You have that spot price kind of decreasing, then it kind of levels off here towards the end, and that IV is decreasing that entire time there. So what that's telling me when that IV is decreasing on the contracts is that move is expected to decrease. So that's essentially where, when you're thinking somebody's selling the contracts, they're selling those contracts, not expecting that stock to move anymore, if that kind of makes some sense there. Versus the other way, now if this was inversed here where that IV is increasing, then I would read this as a buy, because your IV is increasing, that flow is filling at the ask, and with that IV increasing, that's essentially telling us, oh, this trader is expecting a move, so that implied volatility is going up. So hopefully that kind of helps you a little bit with the IV. It's, again, the IV, I wouldn't ignore this part of the trade. It's another data point that you kind of like to see with the flow. Obviously I'm giving plays to a lot of people, so I like to have that flow be essentially textbook. There's times where you'll see that IV not moving, or it might decrease and it's still posted, but there's a reasoning behind that. So like if this was all coming in at the ask here and that IV was kind of janky around in this area, you might still see that there too. So it's just kind of an eye thing where you got to trust your eyes, and it's a screen time thing. That's just kind of something you got to learn over time. But I think you got it in the correct direction where you're talking about the IV there. So that was a very, very long answer for you, but you're just you're just kind of trying to see the size, the very quick Spark Notes version for you. You're just looking to see like if IV increases or decreases in a certain spot, how much of that size of that trade is making it increase or decrease there. That's kind of the Spark Notes version there of it. But I'm glad. That's a really good question, though. Really good question, because we don't have much flow to look at. So I will take those questions all day. Let's see what the tide's doing here. Not really bouncing. How's our Periscope? Sitting right on that kind of support there. But if we get through this, you might see a little more downside. So definitely curious to see what happens here. And I'm really excited to start using Periscope here. I just got access to this on Friday, so I've been kind of looking at it throughout the weekend, and it's going to be fun. It's a really good scalper tool. really good scalper's tool, and I'm just kind of back testing entries and stuff. I'll probably back test it for a couple of weeks just so I can kind of get the ins and outs of it down. And I mean, maybe even during the day I might just let it run live stream in the chat here. We'll see. I don't know if I can actually like do that because it's technically sharing data, but we'll see. We'll see. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, this is going to be fun. I can post levels and stuff, and I'm still, again, just kind of trying to learn everything on here. I essentially kind of got everything on that right side, kind of essentially support. This would be your kind of bigger negative gamma, so resistance essentially. So like here, I mean, you want to kind of see that price accelerate through this. So if we're dropping here and you see it really accelerating here, that might be a move to some downside, but that positive gamma can typically mean a bounce. But yeah, I did see some MBLY. I did, and I believe it should be in the long-term flow. But we had two really long dated calls, the 27s and the 26s. So May coming up and then January next year. So let's take a peek at them. I posted that longer term one. Obviously, we have earnings in a couple days. Let's take a peek at it. So 43% on the money. See what we can find in here. Yeah, and it's all coming in at once. So it's a block trade here where you don't get that full info, but we do have some flow before it. So you like here, good example where you see that flow kind of starting at that 66.81. We spike, IV's rising here, just kind of following it up. Drops a little bit here, but then you can see it recover and pop here. So again, it's dropping on. It's not like one contract. Obviously, you're about 80 or so contracts in here where that IV kind of slightly drops, but then you pop here and then you just see it how it's continuing up. You get a small little drop again, and then you get your big size, big premium, and then your IV staying up there too. So I would read these as a long-term buy. I personally wouldn't want to hold them that long. I'm not patient enough. So that 15 call looked good. And then our short-term 11 dated call. And again, earnings too, just because that flow looks good. You just never know with earnings. That's the thing. This thing could take 10% tomorrow. You just never know. I am not a fan of earnings, swinging over earnings. Well, and really earnings season to begin with. I lose a lot of sleep around earnings season. So again, that IV spikes. Spot is filling at the ask. Come back down here. Again, just kind of looking here. So again, a kind of mix of bid and ask in here. But let's kind of continue up. So you're coming in at the bid here. So IV spikes. You are filling at the bid. And just, I mean, really messy IV on this one. That's kind of why I posted that other one instead. And then you have that little drop in the IV there. I like the longer term one a little better. I mean, you have little spots in here where it's increasing, decreasing. That other, your 115 chain was a lot cleaner than the 11 call. But other than that, yeah, that's all I really had come in on that. Bid size has been pretty quiet. Just a lot of earnings going on. A lot of earnings. We're going to get a bounce here. Yeah, you can just see kind of in live time how you're just kind of chopping at that 67.95, the 6800, and the 6810, 6805. We're just kind of chopping between those levels. So bulls supporting here, bears selling here. You're just not really getting a major big move, and then some more possible sellers coming in there. We'll have to see if we get down there, but pretty close to the low of the day. Yeah, I'm really excited to master this thing. This thing's pretty cool. I was looking at levels a little bit earlier in the day, like if I Come back here. Let's go back to this morning. So like this morning, at 68.50 level, I had that thing marked right. Oh, where's my SPX? I don't have it marked now because those lines kind of change every so often, so it's just kind of watching it. But that 68.50, and let's come back here. Yeah, I mean that was right at open there too. So I mean, you could have, if you're watching that, you get a quick little $20 scalp there on SPX. This thing's gonna be really fun, and I did get a couple adjustments made to it, so I kind of missed that middle half of the day. But definitely really, really excited to use this tool. Super good tool for scalping. And it looks like we're gonna possibly lose this here too. And yeah, updates every 10 minutes, so your levels will kind of switch. So that's why I didn't really have them traded or marked still. But all right, let's see what else is coming in. Just a lot of ETF flow today. I just can't get the cleanest read on it. Just with all, I mean, you have calls coming in, you have puts coming in. I'm not a fan of puts when you're already down 2% on the day, and those put premiums are starting to kind of drop here as well too. How are holdings looking? Holdings still seeing ask side pair, but chasing down 2% on the day. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd rather almost inverse it there. I might actually, at the bell, I might grab some long month out SPY calls, hoping for a bounce. Just doing a quick little chart on it. Actually, I'm going to go over to TradingView. Let's go take a peek. Kind of redraw out my lines here. I haven't charted SPY for a little bit. Yeah, I mean, we're just simply following that trend, and would like to see if we, yeah, still a little way, about $7 more there to get to that 100-day. I do like kind of where we're at though. Like if we look at a 2-hour view, just could see maybe a small little support in here, that 677-ish level. I mean, and I don't even need a big bounce. I mean, you get that 677, you get a small bounce back up to 682, you're pretty happy there. And I mean, you're pretty oversold there too. Volume wise, yeah, I mean, we're pretty much in line with your average volume too. So it's a really, looks like a nasty day, but it's not a very super out of the normal heavy volume day like back here. I mean, you're pretty in line with that average. But yeah, I mean, I like this spot for maybe a $4 or $5 bounce. That'd be kind of cool. What about these Walmart calls coming in? 213, 121 call. So what do we got here? 1,000. Got 5 there. 2. So about 1,000 there and 1,000 there. Have to check open interest on this one, but let's just kind of take a peek here. So like this, you don't have a clean view on this. So all this flow again coming in at the same time. The thing I don't like about this is you're not, it's almost more of a mid-fill here too at that spot. Obviously it's a little how's it for you now, Pierre? You might have to pop out. How's the sound and everything for everybody else? Yeah, Pierre, you might have to pop out, pop back in. Weird. Yeah, I'm not on that. I'm not on the MBLYs anymore. I would yeah, you might just want to pop out and pop back in. Super strange. Super strange. I'm gonna give him a second just to pop in, pop out. I'm gonna grab a drink here. Just want to see what we're doing here quick while I wait for him to come back. Alright, how's the sound for you now, Pierre? Better? And you should be able to see Walmart now, hopefully. Yeah, I don't know what it is with Discord. Sometimes the sound works, sound doesn't work. It's frustrating sometimes. Like with our live we did with Keith last week, everything on my end recorded, but nothing on his end recorded. I was mad about that one because he had a really good breakdown on metals. But back to Walmart now. So this one, more of a mid-fill here where you're coming in about 8 cents in between each. You don't get a clean read on something like this, and obviously you don't get to really see how that IV reacts. When it comes in a block trade, I like to kind of see flow before and after just to see how that block trade is impacting that overall flow. So again, one you could easily pass on. And you would want to double check that open interest tomorrow anyways on something like that, just with them being about roughly the same size. SEI didn't. I think we had somebody ask about this. Let's look at the Intel calls first, and we'll look at SEI. Earnings 2 days. So again, 2,000 there, 2,000 there. One that you would definitely have to check that open interest on tomorrow. Let's see. So 112. I mean, would be a very odd trade to just sell that quick, but have to double check that open interest just because it's ask side doesn't mean they're buying the contracts. They could be selling them at the ask. You just have to double check. And let's just see. So 75.05. Yeah, you don't really get any clues out of that. Look at that first half, 75.50. So that IV kind of decreases here at the end. Yeah, interesting flow with that IV decreasing spot there. Yeah, one that you'd have to double check, and obviously you have earnings anyways, so kind of flip a coin. More Netflix calls. See, there's a lot of Netflix calls coming in for earnings here. So a lot of multi-leg though on these. I think this was that original one that might have, yeah, big multi-leg. And a call debit spread too. Yeah, actually I want to look at Netflix since we got earnings coming up. We'll take a peek. So Netflix, our last 15 quarters, because this is our 16th coming in today, does favor to hit, if it does beat that implied move, and we do have a 6.73% implied move today, tends to favor beating it to the upside if you do hit that implied move. So something to keep an eye on. And I know also we looked at that Netflix chart, I believe, Thursday or Friday last week. But, oh, and it's already kind of popping there. Let me clean these lines out. These were just our gaps that we were looking at here. But yeah, I mean, those Netflix calls from last Thursday, Friday, I mean, you got a little pop on that uptrend there. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying though, I mean, this looks like a nice, great, clean spot. I just don't like the earnings aspect of things. Oh yeah, I know. I've been on my hands all day, Pipsy. It's just I'm I might be grabbing some spy calls here at close though. I do think that we might see a small possible relief bounce maybe over the next day or two. Well, and if Netflix has good earnings too, that should help a little bit. But you just never know. You never know. All right, let's look at those SEI puts here. Very 1,000 thousand. I know somebody asked in the chat earlier here. Yeah, this is definitely interesting flow here. I would imagine most of this carries over. Would have to double check because I mean you're just getting all those multiple hits, thousand, thousand, thousand. I mean it would have to carry over and again earnings flow there. Yeah, and you got those little candles in there too. I mean I'll take an educated guess and say most of this should carry over. Just would have to double check, but yeah, very interesting flow. I think Pierre, I think you asked about this actually, if I remember correctly. You can look at so many names all day; they just all kind of run together. But yeah, I mean I would just double check that open interest on that one. But man, just one more time. I mean, very unusual here, and again earnings too. All right, how about these HBAN 32017 puts? So again, earnings. Big surprise. It's going to be a lot of me saying earnings for the next week or two. Completely a new trade here. I mean, not even a single open contract on this one. So this is a completely brand new chain that this whale is trying to open contracts on. So it's definitely an opener. But let's see if it looks like it's a buy, though. So 31. Yeah, the video should be recorded, Pierre, for you. That's so strange on your end. That's really strange. Why it's doing that. Yeah, it'll be recorded though, so don't worry. It'll be in the live stream recordings. Um, yeah, just kind of looking at that IV. I mean, stays up. Little drop there. So now you're seeing kind of small little drops in that IV. This one a little more tricky. Let's see if we got anything else coming in on it. Last 30 days, spike. So yeah, I mean this is your largest contract on the day and some bid side calls here. Let's just see how these look. Just want to see how they look when they were being opened. So big chunk back in August. So this is, I'd probably say it's not related. Yeah. So this is definitely new whale coming in here. Let's come back up here. So we don't have anything to go off of either around this one. Again, just kind of looking at it though, I mean, I would probably lean that they're selling these, but earnings coming up too, and they're so far dated out, 11% out of the money. Yeah, just that earnings stuff. When you got earnings that next day, I just kind of like to avoid it. All right, let's see what's coming in. Let's take a peek at Periscope here. So you can see we were talking about that 67.95 and just kind of starting to get a slow little curl up there. Long ways to go, but just chopping at this essentially support here, and then got to get over that 68.05 and 68.10. And I want to look at one more thing here. And I mean, if you're, volume's slightly elevated now, but I mean, for the most part, it's not like it's a $130 million or 130 million volume sell off here. I mean, could pick up here. I mean, got another 25 minutes to go, but just kind of looking at the other sectors. Energy is above. Yeah, no, discretionary is below. So we got 1 beating, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6. This will probably healthcare. I'm sure we'll probably get that. Yeah, I mean, so you have a majority of your sectors over that 30-day volume. Just curious to see what else is kind of going on here. Let's look at a kind of larger angle. So holdings. I do like that put premiums are finally starting to kind of drop a little bit here, though. Gives me a little confidence in snagging some month-out calls here. So let's get rid of our 0 days. Let's see if we got anything good here for flow. Let me get rid of that in the money too. And my multi-leg. Yeah, so I mean, a big chunk of that coming in here is spy calls coming in here. Big chunk of that spy calls coming in here. Just kind of clicking around too. See if we have anything recently being opened. We just look at that 8-day one. How about the 10-day? Yeah, like these are just open. That's interesting there. This is an interesting one. 340, 300, 3. I wonder if. Yeah, this would be an interesting chain to see how much of this carries over. I mean, for the most part, those kind of looking in here, it's a lot of calls. Definitely interesting to see what happens there. I don't care about those 1,000-day out ones though. All right, let's go back here. See what our tide's doing. Any changes? Yeah, not a big change. And biggest day of put premium here since 14th. So last Monday. And then we just dropped hard that next day. Yeah, curious to see how we play out tomorrow. Alright, we're getting some. So, oh, big TSM oil again. Very messy flow right away. Half bid, half ask. Just look at it for fun though. Come down here. So IV spikes. Yeah, we can look at AMD here. Let me just finish up with this junk here. 4047. So IV staying at that 47. Couple drops in there. Smaller size, so smaller size drops not a big issue. But then your IV, rises here, rises. Yeah, these are interesting. 182. Yeah, I mean that IV rises that entire time. Those are definitely interesting. I just don't like that split at the bid and ask though. All right, let's go look at AMD. Let's go look at AMD. Yeah, I'm surprised AMD has been holding, especially after the massive run-up we had. All right, let's see. See if we got any new flow on it. Let's do... Nope, not that. 45. Yeah, you're getting kind of mixed float. I'm just kind of doing this at face value here. I mean, a lot of calls and kind of puts. Still leaning more calls here, but I don't know if I'd want to chase it after the big run-up recently. See if anything else is sticking up. Man, what a bounce off that trend line. I'm so mad at myself for cutting those on that Friday. Oh, $30 run-up. That was textbook net premium gap and a good chart there. Just close that one day below that stupid uptrend. definitely interesting flow there, though. Um, yeah, I'm just kind of looking at it face value right now. I mean, I'd say there's a couple more calls and puts here, but you're not really getting a clean conviction in here, and they're all more kind of shorter term here. Yeah, MU's been interesting. We can take a peek at MU. Yeah, so I wouldn't say anything on AMD. I probably wouldn't want to touch it at least in a full size aspect with us coming off that big run up. Let me go over here one more time. Let's look at AMD one more time. Yeah, I mean that thing popped pretty hard there, and you're almost gonna fill that first gap there, that 224, and then you got that other gap there to fill. I just don't like chasing it up after we've moved up, since that kind of uptrendish area. I mean, about 18%. You're pretty much chasing at these levels, and if you're going calls. But you could maybe look for a pullback here to that gap fill, get below that 20-day moving average and retest that, and you'd fill both gaps there. All right, let's look at MU here. Let me clean some of this up. And let me quick. Okay, so like now when we look at it, you can see that price is kind of starting to accelerate through this. So looks like sellers might push this a little bit lower because you got through that essentially support there. We'll come back and check this too. Let's do MU though. And I know if I come over here, I think it was Friday, we had big put sells on MU. Might have been in the bid side. Let's see. Maybe I'm just blind. I have to find that contract. I know there was a big put sell. I think Snorlax posted about a big put sell. But let's take a peek at MU. Yeah, so getting asks I'd put premium today. Calls kind of ticking up here a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you got those big gaps, and yeah, that's what should have stuck out there. But you do have a big drop in that call premium here, so I mean, some point should catch up there. How's our flow looking though? Just face value, nothing here. Some 81% 10-day outs. Well, those are 718 trading at about 799, so they're up about 14% or so. Let's see if we got anything else coming in. Let's see. And nothing really in the money, so we don't have to worry about that. Yeah, a lot of heavy premiums on this name. A lot of heavy premiums. Let me do another little filter here. Let's just do 90 days. So, I mean, it's... Ooh, yeah, nothing trackable on that. 1100, I wonder if that's... could be them possibly getting out there. Would want to check open interest on that one. About these 360, oh, we looked at those. I mean, you're seeing a lot of puts come in here. We still strong, huh? Yeah, it's always interesting when you see everything selling off in one name just being strong. I know there was news. Let me see if I can find it on MU's page. It was something about a shortage of memory chips still, so I think that might be kind of keeping us up a little bit too. You're not really I mean, obviously Friday was 3 times that 30-day volume. Today you're only trading about a 1.5 times there. So kind of interesting here. I want to see if I can find that news about the oh yeah. So I think that is probably what caused us to continue to pop there. Maybe this yesterday too. Obviously we weren't open yesterday, but that chip shortage that's gonna make everything just more expensive. That's a whole nother issue. LRCX. I haven't had any flow on that for a while. Yeah, like you can see here too, like when we talk about the net premium gaps, big spike back here on the second. Takes a while, but typically you'll see that gap get filled at some point. At some point. Let's take a peek here for you. Okay, I can go a lot lower than that. Okay, I probably don't even need this on here. So my filters are wide open here. At least volume's got to be greater than open interest. Yeah, I mean, a lot of bid side puts. A lot of bid side puts kind of coming in there. Oh, and they're multi-leg too. So that's their big multi-leg. For being so close to the money, I don't like seeing a lot of selling premium right at the money just because you can kind of get in trouble a little bit if they go in the money. I gotta get a drink here quick too. I kind of like to see the 30-40% out of the monies when they're selling premium. But yeah, I'm not really seeing anything new on here. Maybe some short-term put sells, but yeah, like you were saying, it was at 225, dropped down to that 220. Yeah, I mean, a lot of volatility around the name too. All right, let's see what's going on here. So we got a small little bounce back into that support. Yeah, we're just kind of wants to chop at this level. The more SEI puts, man, something's interesting with this name for sure. Something interesting is going on here. I just don't like that it's earnings. Alright, let's see what else do we got coming in. Let me just clean up some of this. Let's go look at our tide one more time too. Yeah, I mean, you're just not seeing much movement now in your premiums there. I mean, put premiums still just kind of staying up, just lightly trending up. Calls just kind of lightly trending down still. A lot of put volume still. And yeah, I mean, it wants to hold this 67.95 level. Let me pop it up over here. So I got my 67.95 marked here. So I mean, you can see how we're kind of holding this level essentially. So I would mark this. Let me come back here. So I would put 68.05 and 68.10. 68.05 and 68.10. 68.05. 805. Then we got, I'm going to delete this one here. Then we want 6810. 6810. So you can see how we're chopping between those levels here, essentially. I mean, this is your bottom, and we've been just selling at this 6805. I'm going to grab some SPY calls here. I got to do an order on my phone here quick. I do not want to pull on my broker on the stream, so 1 second here. I'm going to grab some month out SPY calls. I think I'm going to go with $6.99. How much are these? $3.80. Ooh, that's a good discount on those. I think I'm going to go with the... Let's just see. I'm going to go with the 220 SPY 699 calls here looking for a bounce. This isn't going to be a flow and charts position. This is just something I'm kind of seeing. I kind of like it for a bounce. Yeah, I like that. That's a pretty cheap contract too. How's my delta? So 2 to 1. 24 delta, 15 theta. Yeah, I'm gonna snag those. I'm snagging those, but they're not a trade idea. It's just me interested in a small bounce. So your purple line here. So these turned purple. So that means, I just got to come back here and check my notes because again, I'm still learning this too. But purple gamma bar indicates that since the previous 10-minute slice, the gamma has either increased or decreased past that specific threshold. So that white dot is what it previously was. So it looks like it dropped there. So we were at, just trying to see if it lets me come there. Come on. 10 minutes ago. So, oh, it actually increased there. So that would be a good sign. I just want to go back and see if it shows me that. Oh no, it did decrease. Maybe. I again, still learning. This is live learning here, so. So we were at 19,245, so it did increase. So 25. So yeah, that's a good sign for a little bounce there. Did this go? So this actually technically increased as well to the negative. So yeah, you might, I mean, you're fighting at this level. Yeah, I'm very excited to finally learn this tool. So yeah, anything else coming in? Tide just kind of, yeah, looking like it might finish near the low of the day. Yeah, so that white dot is your current dot. That dot before it is what it was at in that previous 10 minutes. This I have to kind of look at a little bit more. Still just learning this part, yeah. So now that we're at this, you're kind of looking for that price to accelerate through this level. And it looks like we're going to possibly do that. So then my next spot would be that 67.85. So let's just mark that 67.85 just in case we drop down to that. 67.85. So that would be my next spot to look at. We're having trouble again below that, so that's good sign. Good sign. Oh, I wish Keith was here just so I could get that market on close. Curious to see what that is. Some hood calls come in here. I'm gonna take a peek at those. 9% out of the money. 628. IV drops on 1. It's going to be a 1 contract multi-leg. We don't care about that. So I like how that IV spikes here. 17 days. They don't overlap earnings. Be an interesting piece of flow for sure. See, man, we are just chopping at these levels. Yeah, I would love to see a bounce back today. I mean, good thing is just kind of looking at your basing here. Come back here. I mean, you've been basing here for the last hour or so, 45 minutes. Starting to kind of get a little pop there. But I would be looking, so that's 68.05, are we still seeing negative gamma there? 68.05, yeah, a little negative gamma still there. It's decreasing though. West, I went with the, let me pull it up here. I went with the 220, 699 call. I'm in at 387. So I am just slightly red on those. I'm just expecting a small little technical bounce here, and I kind of like how that Periscope's lining up here. It might not get it today, but just with a big sell-off, I mean, you're going to have dip buyers come in. I'd love to know the historical number of what SPY has, or how many like consecutive days SPY has dropped after like a 2% day. Would love to see that data there. How are we going to finish? 3 minutes left. Where's Keith with my market on close numbers? Yeah, and I mean, your tide's just not really flinching at all. It's just chopping, 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 chopping. And I'm just watching this here. We're just sitting on that positive gamma. And this time frame, it updates every 10 minutes, so that gamma will be different. Like, you can see that negative gamma at that 67.90, and I mean, this is your. Oh, I just want to see what. Come on. Long dated monster calls, 17% out of the money. So I like these, that IV spikes. Spot is filling with the ask, little wider bid ask spread, small drop there in that IV, just small size, not a huge deal. Comes back up. I would say these are buy to open. A little longer term, might be able to get a discounted entry with it being up 4%. All right, how are we going to finish? Ooh, finish near the low of the day. Got 30 seconds. Yeah, just the last choppy hour or so, though. Pretty choppy. Good volume candle there, finally. Yeah, 101 million on the day. There's a nice little pop into close. All right, that is it though for the day. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, we'll see. We should have more fun again tomorrow. Netflix earnings coming out here shortly, and I will have all the data up later on. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.